Simply seeing a wrestler with gold around their waist adds a layer of prestige to their in-ring career, and while the world title generally fills the marquee main event scene, the existence of the Intercontinental title adds a tangible prize fight feel to the upper mid-card portion of the WWE's roster. More often than not, the Intercontinental title serves as a building block achievement for an exciting star rising up the ranks and on their way to the top of the card billing status. Other times, the title finds its way into the hands of an already established main eventer, thus solidifying the belt's extended lineage all the more. Either way, its place in history is to give us a match to look forward to in the middle of the show, and on the rare occasion, it can be put on the line in the main event itself. Such was the case at SummerSlam in 1992. The version of the Intercontinental title that I am here to discuss today is the Reggie Parks design that was prominent during my formative years of 1986 through 1998, after which period the WWE switched to what became known as the Big Oval title design. I realize Reggie Parks' classic design was brought back again in modern times, but this is the earlier period of 1986 through 1998 that I generally associate this particular cosmetic appearance with. Ultimately, what brought me to the desire of making this video was that I picked up a custom unofficial 1-to-1 scale of this Intercontinental title at the flea market about a half an hour from where I live. I dealt with this particular seller before, a gentleman by the name of Kevin, who gave me a solid price, and I walked out of the market with a huge grin on my face and a title that is far too big for my small stature when it sits on my shoulder. Sure, I dealt with some peculiar looks from other people, but that's only going to make me strut out to the parking lot with more pride and excitement. All of this led me to exploring my toy shelves for figures I'd been buying over the last number of years and assembling my own personal haul of Intercontinental champions during the era that I mentioned previously. Thus, putting this video together allows me to assemble my own tribute to the title's history and the champions I remember most fondly, all while keeping the life-size custom as my consistent motivation to revisit a key part of wrestling's past. Let's begin. Hi everyone, this is Ken with Toy Connections. If you enjoyed this video and would like to be notified of my future content, please be sure to hit subscribe. Also, if you're able to help the channel grow, head over to my Patreon site and consider a monthly pledge where you'll be able to unlock exclusive content and other benefits. That's patreon.com/toyconnections. The link is in the description below, as is the list of names for this channel's existing Patreon supporters. Technically, my earliest memory of a major wrestling show was WrestleMania 5 in 1989, for which this title was contested between Ravishing Rick Rude and The Ultimate Warrior. Having said that, I don't remember this match the first time I watched it, and it wasn't until a second viewing some years later that I remembered it a bit more, since in my first viewing I was more focused on the Hogan vs. Savage match that received top billing on that night. Shortly after, I'd find myself pulling a WrestleMania 3 VHS from the local video rental shop, which of course exposed me to the timeless Intercontinental encounter between the Macho Man Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Of course, the Macho Man had won this title previously from Tito Santana. It would also be on subsequent VHS rentals that I would come to find out about the Honky Tonk Man and his extended title reign. And while I don't consider the Honky Tonk Man to be the greatest Intercontinental champion ever, his extended reign would lead a few people out there to disagree with me. However, once I began watching wrestling on a more consistent week-to-week basis, it was Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig who held the title and was seemingly unbeatable with it, until of course an unlikely yet altogether magnetic star in the Texas Tornado Kerry Von Erich would take the title from him at SummerSlam in 1990, another match that I remember quite fondly. Now, I certainly don't have a figure of every IC champion during this era, so you'll see key omissions from my shelf, such as the Mountie Jacques Rougeau, former rocker Marty Jannetty, strongman Ahmed Johnson, Jeff Jarrett, Shane Douglas, or Dean Douglas as he was known at the time, and Mark Merrow. However, the ones that I do have are ones whose matches I remember fondly, and if you're a follower of this channel, you'll know what comes next. Bret Hart's 2 title reigns during the years of 1991 and 1992. Each reign would last about 5 months, and due to my Canadian bias and my adoration for Bret's hardworking, underdog nature, all while captivating us with amazing storytelling style matches, I generally associate this title with him the most. Of course, Bret's second reign with this title would begin with an underrated classic with Rowdy Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8. A reign that would end with a match of the year ageless main event classic with his brother-in-law, the British Bulldog, during the aforementioned SummerSlam 1992. That's a match that I could watch over and over again. Now, the title would also find itself staying within the family with a few title reigns of brother Owen Hart, further extending the Hart family's contributions to the lineage of this belt. Most of the members of the WWE's Backstage Clique faction would also hold this title, so naturally my Hall of Champions also includes Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and of course another man associated with Match of the Year appearances, Shawn Michaels. Yes, Shawn would have a pair of memorable ladder matches with Scott Hall, the first of which brought the concept of a ladder match to the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania 10. Now, before the changing of this title design to the aforementioned big oval title design, later Intercontinental title holders during this era would include men such as Goldust, as well as a couple of greatest wrestler candidates of all time in The Rock, as well as Stone Cold Steve Austin. And on that same note, running through the list of names here, you'll see a slew of individuals who did become all-time greats and who in some cases won multiple World Heavyweight titles as well, and were also inducted into WWE's Hall of Fame. As such, I became accustomed to paying attention to what was in the Intercontinental title scene over the years, as it would often be an indicator of who would be the next big star that the WWE could build its business around. As a side note, another great memory from my childhood was my dad preparing an order form from one of WWE's various magazines in 1990 to get some merchandise, and what was offered to kids was the versions of both the world title as well as the Intercontinental title. Kid size, of course. Now, to my surprise, my dad ordered both belts, and of course I paraded around the living room having my own WrestleMania matches with friends while putting one title or the other, or even both, up for grabs. Naturally, all of this adds to the fond memories of my own title history growing up as an adolescent wrestling fan, making this Hall of Champions all the more special and my life-size custom all that much more noteworthy for me. Yes, this Reggie Parks title design has seen a few different strap colors, but the black strap will always be my favorite, as it's the one that was held not only by Bret Hart, but because another favorite of mine is the aforementioned Rock, and he wore this during his early title reigns as well. So in assembling this Hall of Champions, I couldn't help but feel a rush of nostalgia as the memories came flooding back for all the incredible matches and moments that I watched during my youth. From inaugural champion Pat Patterson, who wore an entirely different design of this belt, to the many who would hold it during the Attitude or Ruthless Aggression era under the big oval title design, and into modern times. All in all, the rich history is worth telling on videos such as this. About my particular belt, yes, it's a custom piece with the classic Reggie Parks design, but I did notice that the logo at the top is of the modern WWE logo rather than the old school classic one, and the side plates are colored rather than plain gold. But either way, these are minor tweaks that I don't mind one bit. For a custom replication belt, it does have some good weight to it, and I have compared it to official replica WWE titles, and the weight is certainly very comparable. All I know is that when I think of the Intercontinental belt, this is the design that I think of first, and was the only choice for me to start my belt collection with. Naturally, I am fond of other titles, such as the Winged Eagle WWE Championship, which is my favorite among the world titles. I've also developed a bit of an affinity for the more current AEW TNT Championship, which is of course named after TNT Network, and it's something that I feel all Elite Wrestling will build with an upper mid-card lineage comparable to the first couple decades of the Intercontinental title's level of prestige. Yes, the WWE would also introduce other secondary titles, namely the European title, the Hardcore title, and even bringing WCW's United States title into the fold, to name a few. And while I definitely appreciate these other belts, the Intercontinental title holds the most sentimental value to me for the reasons stated in this video. Look, I could sit here all day and talk about the major names and workhorse wrestlers who etched their names into the lineage of this Intercontinental title. However, rather than do that, why don't I get you guys as an audience to tell me in the comments section who was your favorite Intercontinental champion of all time, or tell me about your favorite Intercontinental title match of all time. Scroll down and let me know. There is no wrong answer. Overall, I associate this belt with a simpler, more innocent time in wrestling. Destination weekend programming became a thing for many households, and a thing we as young fans could chat about amongst our friends. And with that, you've now seen my tribute to an important part of sports entertainment history. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click on some of my other videos here. Subscribe to this channel if you already haven't, press that like button to spread this video to more viewers, and share it with your friends. Otherwise, I will see you again soon with some more of my favorite toys. Take care.